Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to be talking you through basically my life. Do you remember those like draw my life tags that were really popular in like 2013, 2014? Basically I want to tell you about my life but I can't draw and those aren't really popular anymore, so whatever. This is just like my life story, like who I am, what I do, stuff like that. My name is Steph. I was born in Chesterfield in England on March 30th, 1999 at 3 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. It was a Tuesday when I was born, and I have an older sister and my mum and dad, and we lived in England until I was 5, and then my parents basically decided that we were going to move, and they had kind of decided either France or Canada. My dad got a job in Canada. He's a truck driver, and those were like really in like need in Canada at the time. So he got a job here and we moved in April of 2004, I believe it was, and we moved straight to a province called Saskatchewan, which is kind of, I mean, it's in the middle. It's the most easy to draw province, and there's about 1 million people who live here, and this is where we settled. We first moved to like the center. It's called Saskatoon, and it's like the biggest city in the province, and we moved there, and that's where my dad was working for a bit, and we lived there for 15 months. I went to kindergarten there, and then we moved. I actually went to kindergarten twice, because you start kindergarten when you're 4 in England, and so I went to kindergarten when I was 4, and then I came here and I went back to kindergarten. I could have gone straight into grade 1, but they decided that it would be best to keep me with my like age group. So yeah, we lived in Saskatoon for 15 months. I finished kindergarten there, and then we moved to a small town about an hour away from Saskatoon, and I started grade 1 there. My sister's 2.5 years older than me, so she started in grade 3, I think, and yeah, I started there in grade 1, and that was the worst schooling experience of my life. I looked different. They used to make fun of me because my hair was orange, so I looked different. They made fun of the way that I sounded because I had a funny accent. I sounded like this, and I was different than them, and they made fun of me for that. I had a best friend in grade 1 and 2, and for some reason she just stopped being friends with me in grade 3, and so I pretty much had no friends until grade 5, I think. This other girl came and we were friends, but we were both outcasts in the class. We there was like 4 people in the, like, I don't even know, there was like 8 or 9 kids in my class, and me and this girl were definitely the ones that they didn't like. And so we had no friends other than each other, and it was like we were excluded from everything. And this town that we were in was really small, obviously, and there was like nobody else. It was me and her, and then the 8 or 9 other kids that were in our grade, and they were all friends, and then it was just me and her who weren't friends with them, and it was really tough. It's hard to explain why it hurts so much, but you definitely know that they don't want to be friends with you. Definitely know that they don't want to be friends with you, and it's like, it's hard to explain how you know that. Like, you just do. It's hard to explain why someone not wanting to be your partner for something in class is so hurtful, because it could just be that they want to be with someone else, but I don't know, you kind of live in that environment for a while and you just kind of know. It was in the end of 6th grade when my parents kind of noticed that I wasn't like the same kid. I was really quiet and I didn't tell them about school, I didn't tell them how it was going. They knew that I was struggling with making friends and being in school. Something that I remember very, very distinctly is that they made fun of me for thrift shopping, and I got told that I was poor, I got told that my clothes smelled, I got told that they looked like someone had been eating them, and like all this like terrible stuff. And like we thrift shopped partially because like that's what we could afford, but also because that's how you get cool clothes. I don't know. I've always enjoyed thrift shopping, and then like now they made fun of me for doing that, and now they're all doing it themselves. Like they thrift shop themselves and they think it's so cool that they found something at Plato's Closet or Value Village that's so cool. And I don't know, that's just like something that I remember that was like really hurtful, that like I could, if I wanted to, buy, well, my family could, if we wanted to, buy all the stuff that they were wearing, but why would my parents spend $200 or like $100 on Lululemon leggings that I was gonna grow out of? So they made fun of me for a whole bunch of stuff, and it was the end of 6th grade that my parents had kind of like had enough. My mum is a fierce woman, and when she gets in her mind, especially about me and my sister, when she gets in her mind that something's not gonna happen anymore or something is happening, it happens. Like she'll move mountains basically. And we lived in this town, and there was like a larger center of about 6,000-ish people, I would think, about 20 minutes away, and they had like a public school and like a nice high school. And that was, sorry, I keep like going back, but that was another issue with the school that I spent grade 1 to grade 6 in, is that it was a public school because it was the only school in the town, and it was like called a public school, but it was very, very religiously segregated. If you basically weren't a Catholic, then they didn't like you. Yeah, and I'm not a Catholic. Technically, like, I was christened, so I'm a Methodist technically, but yeah, I don't know. My mum called the school board and said that she was transferring her kids from the small school to the medium-sized school in the town over, and that was, I think that it was kind of like a pushback. They didn't want that to happen. I don't really know why. I just know that my mom like basically told them like, I don't care. I can take my kids to school wherever I want to take them to school. And then so the school board was like, oh, but we're not gonna send a bus for them. And it was fine because my parents worked in the medium town anyways. And so we, yeah, in grade 7, I was in grade 7, and we started at a new school in this medium-sized town, and those 2 years, so this school was an elementary school, and it was kindergarten to grade 8 before you went into high school, and those 2 years, grade 7 and grade 8, were honestly the best of my life. My class that I went into, I got so incredibly lucky because it wasn't cliquey at all. People had friends, like there was girls that like had best friends, and it worked out. Like there was like groups, I guess, but they weren't exclusive and they weren't cliquey, and I got along with pretty much everyone, and it was like the nicest environment. I went from having like one friend who was lovely, but having one friend and everyone else ostracizing you, to having a ton of friends and nobody thinking you were weird, no one thinking you were gross because I wore thrifted clothes, no one thinking that I was like weird because at this point I'd got rid of my accent, but they thought that it was excellent that I had an accent, and they like asked me to use it all the time, and I never got made fun of for that. I never got made fun of because my hair is orange. I was not made fun of for anything those 2 years, and it was honestly the best schooling experience of my life, and if I could go back to any point in my life, it would be those 2 years. I joined school sports. I played volleyball in 8th grade, and that's like not the kind of person that I am, but those 2 years I had a best friend who was my first best friend in my life, who also thought that I was their best friend, and we got along, we hung out all the time, and it was like something I'd never experienced before, because I had this best friend, but I also had other friends, and like it was like different who I hung out with every day. Hung out with my best friend, but we like had other friends and we did other things, and we just, I don't know, it was amazing. And this girl who was my best friend, she and I got along so well. It was like we were the same person almost. We just laughed all the time, and we just, yeah, but we could also have really serious chats. And like it was grade 7 and grade 8, we were like 11 and 12 or something like that. No, like 13 and 14. We were 13 and 14, and so the issues were like, oh, we're having issues with a boy, and like, but I still had someone that I knew that I could go to and like be best friends with. I don't know. And then after 8th grade, you move on to high school in this town in 9th grade, and it's like an entirely different building. In this medium town, there was 1 public school and 2 Catholic schools. And at the high school, everybody went to the same high school, so my class kind of broke down a bit. People had friends from like dance class and gymnastics and everything, and my beautiful class from grade 7 and 8 was no longer. Being in high school, you kind of do what everybody else is doing, and everybody else in our grade was forming cliques, and that's just kind of what happened. I had a couple of friends in grade 9. I did fine in high school. I had no issues with high school. I wasn't popular by any means, but I wasn't like disliked or anything. I just kind of went and learned, and I hung out with my friends, and it was in the summer between grade 9 and grade 10 that I got my first job. I started working at an ice cream store and like a bowling alley, and that was really fun. I had my own money for the first time, and I worked like 2 shifts a week. I made minimum wage, and I worked, you know, I had my own money. I could like buy food for lunch if I wanted to. I could get coffee in the morning. And high school was just really like uneventful. I got my driver's license when I was 16. I borrowed my mom's car. I just hung out. And then in grade 12, I decided that I wanted to go to university. Well, I kind of decided it in grade 11, but in grade 12, I was like applying like actively, and I actually only applied at 1 university, and that was the University of Regina, which is where I go now. And I originally applied for psychology. I wanted to be a forensic psychologist, and I still think that would be really amazing. But okay, so I graduate, I'm accepted into the University of Regina to study psychology, I graduate, the summer passes, I worked full-time in the summer, and then I moved to Regina. I live on campus at the university, and I'm like applying for student loans, applying for jobs, like getting all prepared and ready, and it fucking sucked. My first like few days were awful. My parents left, and I'm like a homebody. I didn't like sleepovers that much. I was always really pleased the next morning when I could come home from a sleepover, and so all of a sudden I didn't like being away from my own personal house one night, and then I've moved into this apartment on campus with 3 strangers. I hated it. I remember calling my mom, not because of the people that I was living with or anything, they were perfectly fine, they were really nice. It's just I didn't like like I felt like a stranger in the place that I was supposed to be living. And so I remember calling my mum on like the 3rd or 4th night, and I just could not like hold it in. I'm kind of embarrassed about crying, but I was like sobbing and just saying that I didn't like it, and that I didn't want to be there, and that I didn't want to do it, and that I just wanted to come home. And she's like, well, come home if you want to, but how are you supposed to go to university? What are you gonna do, basically, if you don't go to university? And that's like fine, that's decent advice, because what am I gonna do if I don't go to university? Because I didn't want to be in Humboldt for the rest of my life. I didn't want to be in the medium town for the rest of my life. Not that that's like awful, it's just I wanted to do more with my life than live in the same place that I'd always lived, basically. And so I kind of like got my shit together, and by October I had met someone, and we hung out every day. He became my boyfriend at the time, obviously, and I kind of realized that if I skipped class there was no consequences, and so I started skipping classes to hang out with this boy. He worked like full-time, and so I would skip classes during the day and then go and hang out with him at night. It didn't really make sense, but it's what I was doing. And then so I would hand things in late, and I didn't know the answers on questions, and that semester I passed all my classes, but the next semester I failed a few, and I was struggling. By my second year I was really freaking struggling. I didn't want to do psychology anymore, and so my second year I had switched majors to journalism, which I thought sounded really fun. I still think it sounds really fun, but I couldn't find what I wanted to do. I didn't know my niche. I didn't understand like the person that I wanted to be. I don't know. And I was struggling. I was failing, and I actually got put on academic probation, and I am still trying to work myself out of that hole. Technically I'd be in my 4th year now, I think. 17, 18, 19, 20. Like I'd be convocating at the end of the year, which does make me feel kind of like a failure, but it's fine. My first year I couldn't find a job. I ended up working at a bingo palace that was run by one of my mum's friends, and she kind of got me the job. And then I started working at the YMCA my second year. I did like the before and after school program, and I absolutely loved that job. I thought I was gonna hate it. The hours were absolute trash. I started every day at 6:45. I had to be there for 6:45, and then I worked till about 9 a.m. and then I worked again 3:15 to around about 6, and it was like, it sucked. It was always split shifts. I worked Monday to Friday split shifts, but I had every weekend off, and I had like summers off, and anytime the kids weren't in school, basically I wasn't working. I absolutely loved that job. I was still struggling for money a bit. I missed out a whole chunk. I had moved in with the boy that I met in October, and we ended up breaking up. I got cheated on, and so I moved out, and I was living on my own at this point, which was, I'm glad I did it, because it kind of taught me like the value. I knew the value of money, but like, I don't know, I'm glad I moved out, but I kind of wish I just moved in with roommates. But I will never be the kind of person that enjoys living with roommates, so I mean, I'm kind of glad I did it, but I mean, it taught me a lot, but it also was a big struggle, because I was making like $12 an hour. I was working 30 hours a week. My education was struggling. My grades were struggling, but then I got a new job at a digital marketing company, and I thought that I was going to be set for the rest of my life. I imagined myself working there until I retired. I loved it. It was a startup. I wanted to help this place grow. I now live with my boyfriend in this 2-bedroom condo. I love it. And 2 weeks ago, I actually lost my job at the digital marketing company, which really, really threw me for a loop. It like, it ruined my life plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I've switched, or I'm studying marketing now, and because of this job, losing this job really affected me. It's mostly shit because I lost it for stupid reasons. I made some spelling mistakes on a campaign that me and my boss were working on outside of work, and so they fired me over that. But I was obviously really upset about it, but I worked there for just under a year. They fired me the day before my year mark. Yeah, I don't know. It really, like, it shook me. Like, what was I supposed to do now, kind of thing. But that was 2 weeks ago. I'm applying for other jobs. I have an interview tomorrow, actually, and that's kind of shaking me as well because it's back to retail. I haven't worked a weekend in like a year and a half. I haven't earned a minimum wage, just one job at minimum wage, for over 3 years. So I don't know. It made me feel very useless. But I know that it wasn't me. Yes, I made the spelling mistakes, but there must have been other reasons. And I think those reasons were personal to the boss. I think he got scared because I was fucking banging it out. I was doing good work, and I think he got scared that I was getting too good, and it intimidated him. My plans now is obviously to find a job. I'm hoping for something in marketing sector again, especially social media, but you know, I'll take what comes, you know. I should be finished my degree in 3 years if everything goes to plan. I know, 3 freaking years. If everything goes to plan, I should finish my degree in 3 years. That means I will have been in university for 6 years, which is kind of a lot, but it took me this year I thought that I was really successful getting the job at the digital marketing firm, and I thought that I was on track to be like, I don't know, really successful and like Steve Jobs. But it kind of took this past month basically of me realizing that I am 21. I think because of social media and because of like the kind of global like environment that we live in, it's hard to be 21 and see 21, like the odd 21-year-old on Instagram like doing the shit that you want to be doing. But I'm 21. I have years to figure this out. I have forever to get another job and to start my career in a field that I actually want to work in. If I have to work retail for the next 3 years to finish off my degree, then that's fine, I guess. I'm really upset about it. I don't want to make minimum wage again, and I don't want to work weekends, but I will take what's offered because I need it to live. It's my life up until this point. This video was kind of like a ranting sesh, event sesh. And I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know anybody that's gonna watch this, but keep your chin up. That's all I have to say. And I'll see you in my next one.